just remember why you started. Get in touch with that feeling, where you're at. Think about the gain, from now and all the way back then. There's going to be some challenges. You're probably facing them. But shift from the gap, think about the gain, and just keep building. And keep on building. Everything's going to be all right. Keep on asking great questions. What you put in and all the good things you're doing, it's going to bear fruit. It's just sometimes it just takes a little bit of time.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome to Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kelly Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through CFO services. So outside of the little mini guests that you see, and we're going to hopefully hope that you don't hear, we have somebody this guy, world traveler, he's involved in a lot of different things, not just for business, but just in his community, and uplifting them and giving back. So I'm excited to have the one and only John V here with us today. So, of course, first off, thank you for coming, but I'm going to give the floor to you to introduce yourself. Who do you work with? And then we'll get into it.
Sure. Thanks, Cameron. Yeah, as you said, my name is John Victoria. I am a digital marketing agency for the trades. We do a lot in the HVAC community, a lot of marketing, specialize in SEO, podcast, book, all sorts of stuff. And as Cameron mentioned, a lot of community work. I'm on the board of a national nonprofit supporting Asian American entrepreneurs to really build the businesses of their dreams. So a lot to get into, but that's the quick intro.
Yeah, and let's talk about that, right? Because diversity is huge, at least in my world it is. So what are some of the challenges that you've seen, in your community where it's man, I'm in marketing and I see all this potential. Do you feel like you're underrepresented in the field? Do you feel like there's plenty in the field? Do you feel like it should be more? Let's get into that a little bit.
Well, I'll share I think there's two segments that when I first got started in business, I felt underrepresented. So I think first is age. When I started my business, I couldn't even drink yet. I was 20 years old. And then also, Asian American. And there was different instances when I was at these events and this and that. And, things were said to me that, I didn't really appreciate. It just happens, right? But for the most part, that's not the norm. In general, though, I do feel like there's not enough folks who are business owners, entrepreneurs. And I think it's related. And I faced this challenge when I first started my business. Being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, it's not like the typical path to do. In the Asian American community, it's, lawyer, doctor, engineer, and I was none of those, right? And so it's you're sacrificing this, this path of security in favor of something that, you don't really know that works. So yeah, I definitely say representation is one. And also just the cultural norm, it's not as recommended to be your own boss. So yeah, just a little bit about that.
Yeah, and I definitely agree because it was the same thing with me. I can remember when I started 5 years ago, I would go to these networking events and it's they say some stuff and you're just not cool. How can you think that? Things of that nature. And to your point, even in our culture being Black, it's entertaining, it's sports, those are the two. And we're just now, I tell people a lot of times, if you really sit down and think about it, our parents are maybe the first group to go to college, but really it's our generation, the mid-30s and under, where everybody's going to college pretty much. So dealing with those expectations, do you ever feel the weight of that at all?
Sometimes when I sit down to really think about it, I do feel it. To give you an example, one of my team members, she shared with me, hey, John, I don't know if you realize this, but you really, there is I think she said the crown is heaviest. It was the crown is heaviest on I forget that everything exact quote, but basically, the person who is the entrepreneur and the person who's trying to lead the charge, there's a lot of mouths that person is potentially feeding. of course, there's your direct reports, the employees, team members of your company, but sometimes it's their families too. And, I hire a lot of folks in the Philippines, and, those are familial type environments. So it's not just immediate family. It's okay. We got grandma here. We got grandpa in here. We got everyone else. And so I try not to think about it too much because it is a weight, a really big weight to consider. But I do take the responsibility seriously for sure. It can be heavy at times. And that's why it's so important, I think, with taking care of your health, being surrounded by positive people, because you're going to feel dragged down if you weigh too much on it.
Yeah. Same thing here. Because I mean, like, some of my buddies, like, Cameron's our rich friend. If we can make money like Cameron good, and I'm like, but then I have to stop and think, like, dang, like, probably out of like my high school crew or college crew, in terms of business owners, I'm probably one of, if not the only person they know. So to your point, it is hard to not let that just weigh down on you and take over all your thoughts. Like, oh, I'm representing the whole culture. No, I'm just representing me. Hopefully I do my culture proud, or my family. But to your point, like, I can't carry all that. It's too much. It's too much.
Wow. Yeah, he's support.
All right, cool. So let's get into the fun stuff. So, all right, how many years have you been in business?
Yeah, so I'll give away my age. We're coming up on 7 years this year. So, yeah, I'm 28.
Okay. Congrats on that. Because apparently there's some statistic where it's like, what is it? Most business owners, like 70 or 80% don't make past 2 years. So to be at 7?
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That's huge. All right, so let's talk about it. So when you first started, so this is 7 years ago, tell me what's running through your brain? Because I'm guessing you have some type of corporate experience, right?
No, so I was actually in the Navy at that time. So I was studying
to the Navy and Armed Services.
Shout out to I was studying at the Naval Academy, naval officer in training. And, I went there. I was kind of like wanting to follow in my dad's footsteps. He was career Navy, 20 years. It's how he immigrated over from the Philippines to the U.S. And so I was like, I'll follow my dad's footsteps. But when I got there, I was doing well. But I felt like there was something more in me that I wanted to contribute. And so at the time, I remember I was about 3 years in. I was thinking to myself, man, what if I could do something else? Like, what if there's some opportunities out there where I can really contribute? And, I started learning stuff online. I was studying computer science, information technology. It's like, oh, okay, maybe there's something around there. I tried to launch this business around building mobile websites. Didn't go anywhere. I also tried to build this business on selling textbooks. Didn't really go anywhere. And then finally, I learned about SEO, and I ranked my own website online. I was like, wow, there's an opportunity here. Businesses need this. And so for me, when that happened, I knew that I could potentially take a leap. And that's where it all started. That's what was going through my head. I just wanted more control over my life. I wanted to contribute more, and, loved armed services, lots of friends in it. But I realized maybe this isn't for me. Maybe my way to contribute to the world might look a bit different.
Yeah, and I think that's so key to being too with, like, okay, I want to follow in this path, but the self-awareness to be able to say, like, you know what? Maybe it's time to pivot, or maybe this isn't what I thought, or I can contribute in other areas in different ways. And I think it's so key, which I want you to go into. So really, this is business number 3, because hypothetically, you said the first 2 didn't go so well. So what are some things that you may have learned from those, we'll call them learning lessons, not failures, right? What are some things that you feel that you learned from those that have helped you now to build something that's now 7 years in?
Yeah, I'd say a big piece was, when you're first trying to do something, you have to put yourself out there. And yeah. And you're like, okay, well, I got to talk about it. I have this thing, and I really got to talk about it. You got to learn promotion. You got to get it out there. You can't just, be by yourself and like, I got this really great idea. I got this really great service. Don't be the world's best kept secret. Like that's, I think for my first 2, I was like, I really wasn't getting out there. I think I was overthinking things. I felt like, I also didn't have a lot of guidance. And when I did have some guidance, I didn't follow that guidance. So for me, I think just some things extracting from that experience was, number one, of course, promotion, which I mentioned. Number two, I think getting guidance to navigate how to build a business, right? A lot of people that are starting businesses, like they're businesses that have been done before. And even if it's a startup, it's a completely new idea. There's people that have already walked the startup path. And it's crazy for us not to read their books, talk to them, get coached by them. And then third, I'd say, I guess related to that, aside from promotion, who you're surrounded by, I think really it was just persistence and the amount of time it takes to really get something going. I feel like, especially in the internet marketing world, there's this promise of fast millions that you'll hop in and man, you got
a marketing agency and make 6 figures in 6 months.
Right? Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, man, I'm gonna exit the military and I'm gonna have like this really big business in no time.
Right.
I didn't have a client. It was 10 months in. I didn't have a single client, and so I was like, this is rough. So for me, I don't know. Some people are faster, but I must have took the slow path. So.
Okay, let's go into that because I think that is so interesting. So you're 7 years in now, but okay, you're working hard, did all this learning and studying, and it's 10 months, and I don't have your first client?
No.
So how did you, or what did you say to, I don't know if the word to stay motivated, keep going, keep trying, like talk about that. That's probably interesting.
No, I remember like thinking to myself, oh, did I make a mistake? I just gave up. I gave up, going to the is big, and then becoming a naval officer, like it's a guaranteed job, it's amazing. And then all my friends, they're doing their thing, they're finishing up. And I'm like, did I make a mistake? I'm going to all these networking events. I went to the BNIs. I went to the chambers of commerces.
Oh, geez, don't get me started on those guys.
And I was out there. I was like, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I just not cut out to be an entrepreneur? And I remember just one day, just, hands on my head, just thinking to myself, man, I think that I don't know if I'm going to continue doing this. Thankfully, I spoke to a friend he actually was mentored by Bob Proctor. And the advice he gave to me was, John, right now it might just be a matter of persistence. And then he said to me, why don't we do this? I know it's a tough time right now. What if we woke up every morning early, pick up the book, Think and Grow Rich, read the chapter on persistence. I think it's chapter 8, chapter 9, and read it every single day out loud. And we'll call each other and we'll read it out loud together, like page by page. We did this for a month. And so I'd read it, he'd read it, I'd read it. So every single day, just beating into my mind, persistence. And so it kept me going, kept me fueled. And it wasn't until I ended up putting together a presentation. Like meetup, I created my own SEO meetup. I gave a presentation on, things for SEO, and I actually landed my first client from that. And that was like, I think it must have been a year or a little over a year, but I was so close. There's that sort of like 3 feet from gold, 10 month mark, almost quit, but it was like a few months around the corner. And then that lit me up again. I was like, okay, I landed a client, must mean that there's nothing like fundamentally wrong.
I must know what I'm doing now. Right. Okay, cool. So let's talk about that.
No one will trust
me. So you get the first client. We're happy. We're celebrating. But now you're like, okay, I need to do this again. What did that process look like? Because like you just said, the promise is within your first 3 to 6 months, you're at 6 figures versus in your case, I've done this for a year and I'm not gaining the traction I want. Part of me wants to go back to what was the consistent naval opportunity. So now you get the first one. Now what are you thinking?
I'm like, man, this is great. This is exciting. Let's keep on going. And so after that, I was still involved with BNI. I was part of a startup chapter, so I was really actively trying to get members, connecting people. And I think it was that, even though I don't do B9 anymore, I think that network was really what got me started. It took a while, but I had to realize that relationships take time, and I'm new and I look young and all this, but like 6, 7, 8 months after doing BNI, people started to refer me. People are like, oh, you need to work with John. He's very sharp, this and that. And I began to accumulate, and build more partnerships with more clients. And so thankfully, I had the first to at least keep me going, because it was just like waiting for those relationships to kick in. Because people don't just like, oh, here's money. It took some time, and the fruits of those relationships and investing and really trying to build that chapter, networking, supporting other people's businesses. I was buying from I didn't have any money coming, but I was buying from other people's business, supporting their business, because I wanted to put the energy out that I wanted to come back in. And so that's kind of like what happened after that first one.
So, okay, relationship building, and then just being persistent at sowing those good seeds into other people. And I remember that being the same issue that I had too. It's like you here in Atlanta, you go all around to these different places, and you're in Virginia, right?
Virginia, yeah. Arlington, right by DC.
Yeah, so like I know it's something you like, man, I could go to DC, I could drive here. And it's to your point, after a while, you're like, man, I've been so much driving. When is this going to pay off? And I think that speaks to what you were getting at about the consistency and not being scared to invest in others, even when it hasn't quite happened to you.
Exactly. And it helps. It's like, you're not a fly-by-night marketer. It's like, this guy's not going away. He's like, our friend says, like, you could be like moss. Like, you just continue to grow on people. You're slow, but you just slowly grow onto people. So just keep showing up, be present, be active, and magic happens if you just show up. So
if you just show up, that's a whole different thing right there. Okay, so now let's fast forward, because now we know you don't just have one client, clearly. You have employees, you have a team. You're not the only one making all the major decisions. You're getting asked to speak and travel. So what do you think are maybe 2 or 3 habits? Because I'm sure you're not reading that same chapter every morning. But what are 2 or 3 things that you would say, like, had I not done these, I don't know if I would have gotten to the point of success where I am currently?
It's number one, it's investing in yourself. I have many coaches. I'm a part of many masterminds. I read many books. It's just constantly investing, learning, and growing. And that actually is our number one core value as a company: continuous self-improvement. If I did not invest in that and in myself, and then also give that gift to the team, I think we would have never been able even to make it this far. I think self-improvement as well, it means having a lot of difficult conversations with people around you, but also most importantly, yourself. And so it's just that habit of, always striving and wanting to do better. Let's say we did great today, but like, okay, let's look at tomorrow. I think that's the key. Second, it's kind of almost like the reverse to that. It's also finding joy in walking the path too. It's like this weird, like this duality. It's like being hungry for more, but while at the same time accepting where you're at now and being happy and grateful for what you have now. What I found is that what we focus on multiplies. And if we focus on all the ways that we're deficient, why we're wrong, and why things are written, that can happen when you look at self-improvement, right? Self-improvement is like, oh, it was wrong. How can I fix it? So I love this philosophy from the strategic coach. They call it the gap and the gain. The gap is like when we focus on the deficiencies, the missing things, the bottlenecks, and that causes us to feel down. And then the gain is, okay, wow, look at how far I've come. It's been 7 years. Look at all the people we've helped. Look at all the experiences that we've had, and just remembering where you came from and comparing yourself to that versus the imagined ideal in the future. So it's like that counterbalance of always seeking to improve, while at the same time accepting I am who I am. I'm here because of what has passed, and I'm grateful for that, even some of the things that were bad, it's like those things did teach me something. They helped me to forge a character, and that brought me to today. So I think it's those two habits. They're kind of like almost like contrasting in a way, but I think there is a framework where you can have both.
Yeah, and I agree with that because I mean, to your point, like that is the two-sided coin. Like continuous self-improvement. I always want to be better or increase or just be the best me I can be. But to your point with that is that other side of like, oh then why did I fail here? Or why did I mess this up? So I do think that is super key in how you're like, man, where's the balance and how you trained yourself to focus on, okay, maybe I made a mistake, but it's not the end of the world. What did I learn from it and then move forward? Do you think there are any other things that may have helped you outside of that hunger to always learn and improve?
Yeah, I'd say so from the training I did get at the Naval Academy, one of the things they focused on was, becoming a good leader. I still have a lot of room to grow. Both you and I, we met John Maxwell not too long ago, learned from him, and he talks about the law of the lid and our ability to lead. It really will determine the results that you have. And so I think just focusing on, just like developing our leadership, being someone worthy to follow, living to the core values that you want to help to attract a good team and a good culture for us to actually begin to build. Because I remember it was 2 years in, I was just myself. I had all these clients, and I felt like I was at my breaking point. I was like, I literally cannot, take on any more clients. Like,
Wait, you mean to tell me this field that you're gonna be so rich there was a breaking point? You can make too much money? Like what?
it's like, man, there's too much work. I can't keep up. And because I think the original mastermind is a part of, they talked about this idea of being a one-man gang. So I assumed I would never have to hire employees. But, so I think when I got to that breaking point, I was like, okay, I really need the help of others. And a mentor of mine told me, alone you may seem to go faster, but together we're going to go farther. So I think that learning to build a team, working cohesively together towards a goal, that was so important, because now instead of just you working your 40, 50, 60 hours, now we have 12. Wow. Let's say they're all working 40 hours. Man, that's like 450, 500 hours that's being out. I could not have done that myself. So I think that was key too, like team building.
And I think that's so important. Like there's what they try to sell you is gonna work versus like reality, I need help or else this is not gonna be something I can sustain. So of course you clearly mastered that now. So let's go into that too. Let's talk about lessons learned. So 2 or 3 things that now that you're I would say successful business owner, what are like 2 or 3 things that being a business owner has taught you about yourself, like John the person?
That's a great question. What has it taught me about John as a person? Um, yeah, I think one of the lessons I learned was, I actually also learned this when I used to wrestle, is that, it does require like being in business or in wrestling. Like I remember we'd have these matches called grind matches, which is like you'd wrestle for like 2 hours straight, and you going against the same
2 hours straight.
Yeah, like the room was like humid, like the floors were covered in sweat, and your body is like so tired. You're like, I can't do this. But basically, the lesson learned from that, but also in business, is that it does require a certain level of resilience to pain and to struggle, because you're gonna face it. When we spoke with John Maxwell, he always did this. Like everything good is like, it's like going upstream, like it's going uphill. And I think what I learned about myself is, sometimes you're going to face some challenges, and really you got to dig deep to be able to keep on going. And so I learned that about myself. Second thing is, it's not all about you. I learned that too, where I think in business, a lot of, like solo entrepreneurs or people getting started, and I noticed in myself too, like we will want to be the hero, like we want to be the problem solver. We want to like, save the day,
Save the world.
right? And it's a great thing, but sometimes by doing that, you rob the opportunity for your team member to develop that skill. And so it's like, oh, something's broken. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. We get the satisfaction. Like, we solved the problem. We fixed the day. But if that's always the case, that means you always have to be in the business, right? Because you're always the one solving the problem. So you're building a team, or maybe one day selling, like, there's like this identity of like always having to solve problems. And so I learned that about myself, that sometimes I want to be the hero, but that's not always what's going to be best for others and what they need to grow. And so I needed to stop being selfish in a way and give them the opportunity to grow, and not just, even though it might be easy for me to do it, it's like I need to give that opportunity for them to grow as a leader. So that was one thing I learned about myself too.
Ooh, that's a good one, because I just talked about my team with that. Like, hey, because I've had them for about a year now, and I literally told them this morning in our meeting, because they're about to next August, so September would be like their year, and I was like, hey, I want y'all to go to another level, because I'm like, some of these questions y'all can answer, but y'all are expecting me to answer. And to your point, I think there comes that self-realization where you're like, hey, like, I have to stop coming to the rescue, or I have to stop immediately flying in. And I didn't even think that was ego until recently. And I'm like, dang, does it always have to be me? But I think to your point, like, how can I empower them to take that on, or take it over, or just be more assertive? So I think that's an awesome thing to learn. Now, you said something here. You said essentially so many words, like, you had to realize that, like, being the leader, like, what changes, because you talked about working in the business and working on the business. Mm-hmm. So, and I know that that's super hard for me, like, even currently. How or what do you put in place to help you to not get caught up in the, let me come save the day, because I get that done in 5 minutes, or nope, I gotta let them do it. Like, how do you constantly keep that difference, those boundaries, so that your company can continue to grow and you can sustain the success you've had?
I think it's just it's like getting in the rooms with like also like other good leaders, and you realize things about yourself, and just talking through things like, wow, that's how they're doing it. And it's such a different norm when you surround yourself with different people. It's like, well, for them, they don't jump in, right? It was like crazy. I remember talking to someone, and he's like, yeah, for me, I could just operate 3 of my businesses off of a spreadsheet as long as the KPIs are filled out, and I can help run it. Like, I was like, that's mind blowing to me. Like, how did you do that? Or there was a franchise owner that we met at this event in I think it was San Francisco. He said, I have 1,000 employees across all the different franchises, and I'm like, how can you lead that many people?
I have no idea myself.
Well, the crazy thing is that he broke it down. He's like, well, I actually don't lead 1,000. I mean, yes, I have 1,000 people on payroll, but really I only manage 2 people. And then those 2 people then manage a certain set of people. And then those people manage a certain set of, and so he was like, yeah, if you
umbrella.
And I'm like, it's an umbrella. Like, you're not actually, I have to lead 1,000 people. You got be a good example, but you're maybe like serving direct reports, maybe 2 to 10. And then it flows from there. Your leadership flows from there. And I was like, okay, I didn't realize that. I thought literally I had to know every single other person, and like talk with like one-on-ones every now and then. I'm like, I'm gonna do 1,000 one-on-ones.
And yeah, because to your point, I remember even again in the mastermind that we're in, and you start hearing people like, yeah, I got 2 businesses, 3, 4, 5. And I'm like, how? Like, how do you have that much time? But to your point, somewhere they learned, to your point, I can't have the ego. I have to I have to hire the right people, and then trust that they can do the job. And then it's like, man, how do you implement that? How do you learn that? So like when you were first getting started, making that transition? I mean, I know you still help and lead, but as you start taking yourself out of each and every section, what does that look like for you? Because again, they are selling the dream of either you can do it all on your own, or to bring it even to culture, just hire some people in the Philippines. They'll do it for $5 an hour, which I'm sure you have a whole different, of course, thought process on that. So, like, what was that like for you to start taking yourself out of each piece of the business?
Yeah, I say there is two helpful concepts. The first one comes from the book Traction. Gino Wickman. He talks about it's just exercise called Delegate to Elevate. And the idea behind it is, there's certain things that you're good at, certain things that you're not good at, certain things that you love and like, and certain things that you don't like and hate. And so it's placed in a quadrant. I think the top left is like you love it and you're great at it. The top right is you like it and you're good at it. Then bottom left is you hate it, but you're good at it. And the bottom right is you hate it and you're not good at it. And so part of it was just analyzing, like, what are the things that I'm doing? What do I like? What do I not like? What gives me joy? What are the things that I hate? And just like really mapping that out. And then from there, the funny thing is that there's people out there who actually love the things that you hate. And then there's people that you hate and the reverse. And
Right.
so I think it was starting with that exercise, saying like, okay, how can we find that win-win where the things I hate and I'm not good at, we can delegate it out. And so, things like that, right now, like, for example, I hate looking at my inbox and processing my emails. So, I have an executive assistant. She processes most of my emails. She redirects it, puts in the right folders. She replies to some emails too. And then I only have to look at like 4 or 5 emails every day. And I don't have to be constantly checking my inbox for things. And so that was like one thing I hated.
Which saves you how much time per day?
I don't know the exact amount, but I remember checking it. I'd be on my emails for like hours sometimes, just like replying and archiving, then directing. Yeah, and so I don't do that as much anymore, and I'm grateful for my team to take care of that. The other thing was like a lot of things in SEO, a lot of it's like very routine. Like you got to optimize the website, you got to do some research, you got to build some links, create some content. And I get it. Like I'm good at it, but should I be doing it all the time? Probably not. And so for me, it was like I was good at it, but I didn't like it. For me, like I started the business. Yes, it was an SEO, but I started this business to not just be an SEO. I felt like there was a bigger picture. And so I had to step out so that I could bring on a team. So it's great. So that's the first concept. The second one is it's also related to, so it's this book, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
All right. We need a sponsorship to put them on here. All right. Buy Back Your Time. All right. Tell us about this book. How did it change? Because we got Traction. That was the first one you said with the quadrants. So what did this book teach you?
So this one was, it's like a different way of delegating. It's not hired to grow your business, but it's hired to buy back your time. So, what are the things that are taking,
that's good.
right? It's like a different paradigm. So like, I don't know, let's say something's taking up a lot of time. Well, how can you buy that back? He gives some examples where it's like, okay, there was a guy who hated sales. And so what he ended up doing was he partnered with someone who, he was willing to do the sell because that was an opportunity for his consulting business to grow. So it could be a direct hire, it could be a partnership, but it's, getting people in your life where you can now, instead of spending 2, 3, 4 hours doing that, you don't have to do that anymore. So it's that concept was really, really great.
I like that. So you're not hiring just because we're making more money. Bro, you all right? You can't come on the podcast, bro. But hiring to buy back time. And to your point, like I've even learned that being in our mastermind, it's about the time. Like we think, oh, I just have money so I can spend it. No, we're doing all this to buy back more time, to help others, to invest in these different things. And I think to your point, you have to get yourself in these different circles so that way you can see what that even conceive it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So apparently you're the book guy. So let's go this way. This is completely off topic. top 5 books if you're 7 years ago, John, to the 22, 23-year-old that just took some dope marketing course on why you should be an SEO or run ads or whatever. What are 3 to 5 books that if you read these coming out the gate, these will give you X amount more acceleration on the front end?
The first one I'd say is a really good book on critical thinking and thinking as a CEO, owner, investor, leader is The Road Less Stupid. It's amazing book. You can read it. You don't have to read it chronologically. You can just read whichever chapters. You can just hop in, whatever you're working on a problem. But the main idea behind it is this idea of thinking time, and taking thinking time every day or every week to just sit down and work on a really good question and problem in your life, free of distractions. It's like very simple idea. But in the book, he walks through different questions that he'll pose as being a part of the board of directors to companies, the owners. And so for me, it really helps to accelerate how you think, critically thinking, the different perspectives you can have. And it's a really well done book. So number one, I'd read that book. Second book that played a big role in my life was the book Traction by Gino Wickman. I really love that book. When I first learned about the concept, as soon as I read the book and implemented it, my business had doubled. Then it doubled the next year, then it doubled the year after that. And so it's all about business systems and how do you structure an organization. They call a business EOS, it's an entrepreneur operating system, not just how do you do your finances, but it's how does that connect to your org chart? How does that connect to, they call it accountability chart in the book. How does that connect to your values? How does that connect to your vision? It's like an operating system for running a business. And that was really valuable to me. And then third thing was, I moved away from being following this purely, but I really love the book Profit First. When I first read it, the simple idea is, starting off with your profit, then everything else is, you can worry about that. That's expenses, but keep what you want to earn right up front, and then you always have your profit. That's the general idea. So for me, I was forget about profit. I'm trying to grow and this, and that. And so I was growing my business, but I wasn't making any money. I was man, I'm living in poverty over here. What's going on? I see all these checks fly in, but the money's not there. And so it's a simple concept. They talk about it in The Richest Man in Babylon, but it's
right.
I didn't get it.
Right, because I read Profit First, and of course we have some clients that are do you know about it? I'm yeah, I got the book, I read it, and I actually Clockwork way better than Profit First. But to your point, Profit First is important just because it gets you to think differently about your money. It's not just pay bills. It's how do we take care of ourselves, and how do we keep that tight budget to keep the business going? So Profit First is an interesting read. Keep going. Or is that, I did say 3 to 5. So that's 3. So I'm taking notes, by the way. Road Less Stupid, Traction, and Profit First. Start out the gate, read those. That'll put you X amount further down the road.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool.
I could go on forever, but let's
All right, well, here, we'll do this rapid fire. 3 more books. You don't have to describe what they are or do a 1-sentence summary. 3 more books that, okay, you've been in it for a little bit. These are the 3 books that helped me go from where I started to leveling up.
Another one was 2x is better than, 10x is better, or 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan.
Okay, 1-sentence summary, because this sounds interesting.
The idea is it's easier to go after big goals than it is to go for easier goals.
What?
His rationale is that if you go after a big goal, there's fewer paths to get there, so it simplifies what you need to do. So to go 2x your business, there's Facebook ads, this, that, and the other. But if you're going to go for $100 million business, okay, there's probably less paths for you to actually get there. And also, the competition's probably less because most people they don't want to dream that big. And because it's scary. It's a big thing. Like, is it possible for me? So that's the
I agree.
It's
Because I
like,
have a big goal and I'm scared. So that's true.
yeah. So it's like counterintuitive. It's like by going after a bigger goal, it's actually easier and more simple. It may still be hard, but it's like the path is a little more clear, and you won't be as like overwhelmed by the paradox of choice. It's like, oh, I can grow in all these ways and this and that and the other. Um,
Oh, because you're saying, for example, if it's to get to 2 million, I just have to do A and B. Versus if it's only get to 500,000, well, I can do these 7 different ways.
exactly.
Which one? Okay, wasting time. Okay, I see where you going. See, this is why he's the book reader and the lifetime learner right here. Keep going.
Oh yeah, so that's another good one. The
10x
book
is, I'm writing it down.
10x is easier than 2x.
Okay. Last book that now let's do a book for like right now, John. So like I'm 7 years in. Here's a book that like this got me fired up, and I'm trying to work on implementing this one currently based on my current level of success. Which, by the way, people, he's very humble, but very successful. I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, the book is Who Not How, and it's by the same author as 10x is easier than 2x. And the idea behind it is, I mean, a lot of us who got started in business, we did it all. So we got to figure out all these hows and how to accomplish things. But for you to get to where you need to go, you can't figure it all out yourself. You need to find the who to be able to get there. So that could be a coach, that could be a certain key hire, that could be maybe it's a specific vendor. So instead of trying to figure out how do I do my Facebook ads, or how do who do you need to know, or who needs to be in place so that that's really not a problem anymore, and probably means that you're not having to think like a backlink and all this stuff that goes into it. So it's being more focused on finding the right who to achieve the goals that you want. Whether that's in personal or business.
Okay, so I got that written down. Who is better than how? 10x is better than 2x. Road less stupid, profit first, and traction. If you want to be successful, like John B, that's part of it. Now, you ain't built the same. Because I'm assuming, because the next question I was going to ask you is some people say like about the reading, because you said that's one of the things that you love, self-improvement, learning, self-awareness. But what do you say for the people who are like, man, I don't feel like I have the time to read? And I know that you're a Navy, which there's a lot of discipline here, but what would be your answer to, I want to continue to grow and improve, but I'm finding that challenging because maybe I'm running my business or we're in this rapid growth mode, so I'm finding that hard to do.
Yeah, I'll say that, yeah, we're all busy, and it's only getting more busy. It's all down to your priorities at the end of the day. Like, we all got the same amount of hours, and it's either you prioritize it or you don't. If you don't, then of course the time's not going to be there. But if you prioritize it and you carve out the time, maybe it's the start of the day, maybe you wake up 5 or 10 minutes a bit earlier. If it's a priority, it'll get done, because all of us, we're busy. One of our coaches from the mastermind, he talks about VUCA and the idea that there's volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, and it's only getting crazier and crazier. So if you don't have time now, when will you'll never have to. It's just getting busier. So it's either it's a priority or it's not. And so it's up to you, right? You determine your schedule and whether it's going to happen or not. So I'll just
that makes sense. Not letting life happen to you, but you affecting and being on offense, not defense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's go back. So first off, hopefully y'all check out all those books. And if you are the author of those books, you need to give the guy some royalties or at least a referral link. All right. So let's go into family. So of course you said that, all right, you got Pops, he was in it, so you're kind of following his footsteps. Now, like, what are some things you do because of course, to your point, we are so busy. There are always requests and emails and different things to go to and all these different things. how do you kind of keep family a top priority? And like, what are some things that you guys do to connect with each other?
Yeah, so I'll share one quick example. So yeah, my girlfriend Christy and I, we live together, and yeah, one of the things that we didn't do before was, have something like a pre-scheduled date night, and so something would always come
Oh
up.
yeah, because the world will tell you you get in trouble for pre-schedule, but all the married people are like, schedule it. All the people who are successful with dating are like, you better put it on the calendar.
If it's on the calendar, it don't exist because there's always another priority that comes up. So I think it's related to what I mentioned before. It's just, yeah, it has to be there. It has to be a priority. Your calendar has to reflect what you value. And so if building our relationship is a valuable thing, then where's your calendar block? Right? If your calendar block, if there's no calendar block, you really
love the calendar.
is it really priority? Yeah, that's what I would say. It's the same thing. It's like priorities. Like, is it on your calendar?
Okay, go there though. So okay, you're dating. So okay, how is that? Because especially if the person you're dating, maybe they're not a business person, they're not an entrepreneur, maybe they just work a regular job, or maybe they do help. Like, what does that look like to keep that balance of like, hey, I have to do this, or hey, I have to turn it off, etc.
Yeah, I've been very blessed. Yeah, Christy has been amazing, and she's very supportive. We share a lot of core values, I'd say, and so, and also I think we've talked together about like the vision that we want to build together in the future, and so I think that's really important to, no matter who it is, it could be your partner, it could be someone on your team. It's like, why are we working this hard? Like, what are we trying to build together? And so I think, getting her on the same page and, trying to build towards that vision of financial freedom and living this certain life and the contribution that we can build together. I think that was really important, because if that wasn't in place, it's, and when I was dating, like, it is the worst, whatever's happening in this world right now, it is a, it is a minefield out here. It is a
I don't know
minefield.
what's going on.
So I was like, I don't want to be out there. I ain't trying to be out there.
Not, and I remember I told my wife that I'm like, I could not imagine dating because it's so many different. That's funny to you, yeah, because that's your mama. So you agree. All right, cool. So, like, what are some things that y'all do, like, to keep that love going? Like, is there a certain, like, I know in our house, we do pancakes on Saturday. Like, that's our guaranteed family thing. Every Saturday, we'll do nothing else. We eat pancakes before that day is over. Like, do y'all have some things, like, in keeping the day going, the spice, just in that excitement? Like, are there any specific things that you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, we have date night every Friday. If it can't be Friday, it's a Thursday. Well, also we do try to travel together as well. So, she had some family stuff. I think it was 2-3 months ago. So I traveled with her. We went back to Thailand. This year she has a few weddings. I'm gonna fly with her, and then I'm also gonna go to the Philippines, visit the team, and she's gonna come too. So I think for us, I don't know if Ramit Sethi always talks about intentional spending and the things that that really matter to you. Like for us, there's a lot of things. I'm not a very materialistic type of person, but I like travel and I like learning, and so for us, that's what matters to us more than having the Lamborghinis and the things like that. But yeah, just
Shout out to Instagram for the Lamborghinis.
yeah, right.
Because apparently you're not a successful marketing agency if you don't pull up.
You need a Lamborghini.
I'm like, man, y'all are selling that dream. All right, cool. So let's go here. If you could go back to high school or college, John, so either right after the naval or right before you go in, you just graduate high school, you would tell him, knowing everything that's happened so far in life, what would you go back and tell him or encourage him or share with him?
I would say, yeah, I would just stop caring what people think. I think for me, growing up, I felt like I was seeking approval of someone, some authority figure, whether it was my parents or whether it was my teachers or whether it was, I don't know, someone. But for me, it would be to really sit down and think for myself, like, what do I want? And it's gonna be okay. Go for it. Like you like being from the future, like I know everything's gonna be okay. So just really go for it. Don't be too worried about, what this person might say or your parents or your friends or what you think society will think of you. It's you know, life's short, and actually one funny fact I'd share is the average funeral has like 5 people that goes to it, and then and if it rains, only 50% of them will actually go see like being taken to the ground. So it's like at the end of the day, it's like live your life. Like it's and I think I do have the, of course, maybe we have certain privileges, like, hey, just live your life, and like we're not as worried about that. But I would just tell myself, hey, just go for it. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna figure it out. Yeah, just keep focusing in on that, and don't worry. Just build. Just continue build and continue asking great questions.
That's what's up. I like that because that seems to be a theme that a lot of people say when they get asked that question here. And I'm like, that is dope. Like giving yourself the permission to go for it. But all right, I know you're busy. I know you got to keep saving the world. Do us a favor and tell people if I want to work with you. So again, tell them who you help. How can we get in touch with you? Give us whatever websites, emails, social media lines to connect with you at. Tell us, how can we get in touch? I need to work with this guy. He seems smart. He's bright. How do I do it?
Sure. So this is the same cell phone number my mama uses to call me. Give me a call, text me, 703-475-6947.
Shout out to moms.
Shout out to mom. So feel free. Like that's my direct cell. Reach out. I always love hearing from people. If you have a question, if you just want to network, or you got something exciting to share, like I'm all about it. And I'm really excited to see your growth. So feel free to reach out there. You can find me, on social media. Just look for John Victoria. And my website is Polianna.net, Polianna.net.
All right. So you heard it here. And remember, if you're in the what industry?
The HVAC industry.
Whoa. They can't hear that, bro. It sounds like a parental advisory warning. If you're in what industry, that's who you help.
Sure, yeah, the HVAC, the HVAC industry.
There you go. All right. Any, I don't know if you want to say closing thoughts or like something that you would encourage other marketers or future clients, like anything you want to leave with us before you head out.
Sure. No, I just will leave everyone with just remember why you started. Get in touch with that feeling, where you're at. Think about the gain, from now and all the way back then. There's going to be some challenges. You're probably facing them. But shift from the gap, think about the gain, and just keep building. And keep on building. Everything's going to be all right. Keep on asking great questions. And what you put in and all the good things you're doing, like it's going to bear fruit. It's just sometimes it just takes a little bit of time.
All right. Y'all heard it from him first. So again, John, thank you so much for coming through. Guys, we'll make sure to put all that information he said. We'll drop it in the comments of the videos, and hopefully we'll be able to link it all kind of way so that you can get in touch with them. Don't abuse them. You don't need no help with this, man. You got people trying to help out here. But thank you again, John, for coming. Okay, we thank you for this episode of your mostly good behavior. But thank you so much, y'all. This has been another episode of Legacy's Journey, where we're going to try our best to keep bringing you people that are high quality, people like John who are lifelong learners. He's putting that time and discipline into consistently growing so that they can be the best, not just for themselves, but for the people that they serve and that they're going to serve. So again, guys, thank you so much. Make sure you like and share this to people who need it, people who need to be encouraged, people who love to learn and be challenged. And that's all we got for y'all. So until the next episode, John, thank you again. See y'all soon.
Take care, everyone.